Hello, I'm Kendra, and here at Happenstance Place, we have been all about all things home canning this summer. And now, in the month of October, I'm going to show you some of the meals I make around here with some of the foods that we have preserved. Today, I'm going to be making some pork cacciatore. So right here, I have some onions that I'm going to cut up. Also, over here in my crock pot where I'm going to cook it, I have some pork steak. There's 3.7 pounds of pork steak from my butcher. I'm going to just take the plastic off and leave it in there. I just made sure everything was going to fit before I got started. Then we're going to also need some dried herbs. I'm going to use some basil and some rosemary and some oregano, as well as some dried garlic, all out of our garden. And then I'm going to add at least a quart, potentially 2, of diced tomatoes to this and let that all cook on high for about 4 hours in my crock pot, so that it can get all juicy and delicious, and I will serve it over rice. So now let's put our meal together. So I'm gonna cut up these onions here, and my real preference is to do them in rings, but my kids find it kind of hard to eat the rings. So what I end up doing is I cut them into like little strips. So first off, I just cut off the end of my onion. Then I cut my onion in half. Now you'll notice the paper is still on the onion. At this point, I just peel off the paper, and depending if it feels thick, I will peel off the outer layer of onion as well. But this one feels like it's going to be all right. And I just put all the onion skins and everything into our compost bucket, and it goes outside to become future dirt, to become more things in the garden eventually. I'm just gonna take my onions and set them up this way, and I'm just going to cut some strips like so. Given my preference, I would prefer to just do whole rings like that, so I wouldn't cut the onion in half first, but these are just as tasty and they're easier for small hands to handle. Okay, so there's one onion. I'm gonna go ahead and dump this into my crock pot. I like to put the first onion in on the bottom underneath the meat to kind of lift it up and they soak up all the good flavor. And then I kind of judge from there how many onions I'm going to use. I actually might use 3 or 4 instead of just the 2. We'll see how much room I have, because I really just like to fill up that crock pot, get as much yummy goodness. See, this one has kind of a tougher outer layer. I like to get all of the yummy goodness cooked at once, and then I can enjoy it throughout the week reheated. And then I will make a pot of rice to go with this, and if need be, throughout the week I can make more rice. And I'm just gonna take off the outer layer of this one too. Okay, now we're just gonna cut the strips. So as you can see, there are my 2 onions in the bottom of my crock pot. Now I'm just going to go ahead and remove the plastic from my pork steaks and lay them on top of this. I'll put a little bit of seasoned salt between each one just to help with the seasoning, and then we'll put the rest of our green seasonings on the top. So now in the bottom of our crock pot, we do have our onions. Then I went ahead and I spread out my pork steaks. There's actually 4 in here, and I put some seasoned salt on each one as I put it in. Now we're just going to go ahead and put the rest of our seasonings on the top, and then we'll pour in our tomatoes, and that will help everything incorporate and it'll drizzle down. So I'm going to take a good handful of my garlic powder, because we like our food with a good bit of garlic in it. Then I'm just going to seal that up so it doesn't get moist and hard. Now I'm going to add some basil. Again, I'm gonna add a good handful of basil, because I want a lot in there. I'm actually going to add about 2 of those, because that is about half as much as I want. There we go. More basil. Now we're gonna add some oregano. I'm gonna add about a handful of oregano. And finally, I'm going to add some rosemary. I'm going to make sure with the rosemary that I squish it up a little in my hand first. I'm going to take a good 2-fingered pinch of it. Just squish it up to release all the oils. And then kind of spread that around. It smells so good already, and it hasn't even started cooking yet. And then I'm just going to pop the lid on a quart of tomatoes and just pour this over the top. Now you could do the same thing with some store-bought canned diced tomatoes. Just adds a lovely, lovely bit of seasoning and just adds some really nice flavor and the liquid that you need to get your slow cooking done. And I think by the look of it that is going to fill my crock pot because there was a lot of pork in there. I will see as it's cooking if it does seem like it's cooked down enough. I may add another jar of tomatoes, but for now we'll just go with the 1 quart. I'm going to pop my lid on and set it to high. And then remember to plug it into the wall because if I forget to plug it in, it's never going to cook. If you enjoyed this video, you can go ahead and give it a thumbs up down below. There's also a link on the screen to the other Feed Your Face videos if you'd like to see more foodie content. And you can also subscribe to see our daily vlogs and see what we're up to around here. I'll see you all next time.